an Arcturian mothership. It's big. It's really big. Now again, and I'm not going to ask you to go through this every time, but again, if you shrink it down a little bit, you can actually see there is quite a bit of resolution. You can see here, these are large landing bays. Like every one of these sort of big dark spots is a large landing bay. This thing's about a mile wide, a mile across, and these things go all the way around. So this can literally support dozens of ships coming in at once, hundreds of ships coming and going per hour. Hundreds of vessels can come and go from this thing per hour, okay? And do, from what I understand. Now, I can't tell you what they do with all of this stuff and what's all on there, but that's bigger than some cities. And I imagine the way everything's packed together, there's probably more in there than in some cities. But that is a large, floating megalopolis of space traffic, which, you know, acts as a hub of activity, coming and going traffic and so forth that people can come and go to. And however many scout ships that they may have coming and going can keep coming and going all day long. So whatever missions they're running are a lot all day long, right? They're running hundreds of vehicles in and out per hour. That's another one of our sort of experimental disc craft that we built. That is a United States. That is like a United States Naval Space Command ship that was built by us. So this is what we can build now, among other things. Does it say Boeing on it? No. But we can build stuff like this now. We've been able to build stuff like this for a while, years, decades. But now we make them shiny. I mean, it's all shiny and nice, and it lights up, right? It's pretty. We're getting really good at making these like shiny, good-looking spaceships. So this is a current level of technology that we built. Might have been built here on Earth, I'm not sure, but we also have manufacturing on the Moon, have manufacturing on the Mars, could have been built in any one of those locations, but we built this. This is a terrestrial human Earth spacecraft. So we don't necessarily need everybody else's spaceships anymore, we do have our own. Next. This is a Galactic Freedom Class TR-3B, the TR-3B, also known as the Black Manta. It is built by Northrop Grumman. It is the workhorse of the covert military space program. Everybody uses these. I've been trained to fly these. I've flown in them. I have piloted them. Not the main thing that I flew around in, but I have been trained and have flown them. They are powered by a microatomic generator that is really close to this magnetogravitic propulsion drive, which again is this mercury spinning thing that creates this toroidal field and creates this lift. These are also atomic-powered thrusters. So it reduces the weight of this vehicle by about 87%. Right? So instead of lifting up this heavy thing, it's more like lifting a balloon that isn't as heavy as you would think it would be. So these thrusters get a tremendous amount of push and pull, right, on this vehicle because it's not actually pushing against the actual amount of weight that equals this mass because of the ability to change the weight with electrogravitics and magnetogravitics. Super science, super physics, that's all it is. Okay? It's not outlandish stuff that doesn't happen, it's just things that we've come to understand through the late mid-20th century into the 21st century, that it's just better physics and science that we're coming to understand. So this was taken, you can see sort of this red rock formation there. This was taken somewhere in Utah, I believe, and there's a soldier down here taking a shot of it above. And so this picture has gone around a number of internal military documents and pamphlets for people going, look at our new Galactic Freedom Class, TR-3B. And so, you know, this goes around in a pamphlet to people who have classification to see that. Next. Another image from another location of the Galactic Freedom Class of the TR-3B. This is a slightly different model and configuration, which means that the actual diameter of it is probably a little bit different. And sort of what is kind of normally and kind of a red glow on these other vehicles, now you're really just seeing this kind of obfuscated area, which sometimes visually happens when you're looking at it or when you take a picture of it. And because of the electromagnetic disturbance here, you just end up kind of with this dark spot in the picture. But you can still see sort of the red lights and the white expulsion from the atomic thrusters. But that's a newer one. And they are also very shiny and pretty inside and look very spacey. They're pretty cool. This is one of the new fighter craft that we have that is what we call it's a hybrid fighter, which has orbital capabilities. So this can fly into orbit, this can fly into space. Okay? But it is also a high-speed atmospheric craft. In atmosphere, though, this thing is not going to go faster than about Mach 6. But if you know jet fighters, Mach 6 is really fast. Okay? Outside, and I'm not sure what its velocity in a vacuum is. I can tell you that we flew fighters in vacuum that could go upwards of about 80,000 miles an hour. It's really fast. For having been in that vehicle, I'm telling you that's really fast. But I can also tell you, when you're out in space, that doesn't seem as fast as you think it would. Okay? Because you're traveling pretty vast distances. So even at 80K, you know, you're still just kind of cruising along, right? Yeah. And it's only passing by and, you know, interacting with sort of other objects at those speeds that really give you, you know, indication of how fast you're traveling. So you do get the sense of motion for sure. But, you know, it's still just, when you're out in open space, 80K doesn't feel much different than 40K. This is another of the sort of hybrid jet fighters that we were making. As you can see, it's sort of similar to that Boeing one we were looking at here, but I believe this is a different one. But, you know, there's a guy in the cockpit, you can see him. But again, this is a vehicle that can not just only travel in the atmosphere, but it can head up into space. And how far, I couldn't tell you, I haven't looked at the specs, but this is a hybrid fighter craft that can travel in the atmosphere or in outer space. Next. Another one on the ground. There's another new one. Now, I think it has some weird wings. I mean, check that shit out. What the hell is that all about? I have no idea. I'm a pilot, and I'm not sure why the hell you'd want to do that. But this just looks cool, right? I mean, this looks pretty modern. Now, what I'm to understand, this is a drone. This is not an actual piloted fighter. This is a drone fighter. This is, again, a hybrid vehicle. But what I'm also to understand is that this is one of the new test vehicles, test drones, which is actually run by an artificial intelligent computer that's a biological brain connected up to an electronic computing system. So it's a hybrid of an electronic computer and a biological brain that makes an artificially intelligent drone controlling piloting system. Be afraid. Be very, very afraid. We don't want those. We've seen how that movie works out too, right? And it's not good. Don't give the machines power over the death weapons. It's bad. We've seen that one. It's not a good ending. We don't want Arnold Schwarzenegger coming back in time, call with me if you want to live, right? We don't want that. Next. This is one of sort of these galactic maps. This is an orientation map, which just kind of shows, here's us, little pink sun, right there, that's us. Now, interestingly enough, and it's sort of, you know, sort of outlining these, I wish I can't quite read that, but it's sort of outlining the sort of areas, you know, the Norma arm, and the kilo R-sick ring, and, you know, I mean, it's all diagrammed here. But what we have that is of note is it tells us where we are right here, but it also has these yellow markers on it. Now, this is interesting. There's a little star here, and there's a little star here. There's a little circle here, and there's a little cross here. So these mean something different, right? Okay, each one of these is a different symbol identifying what exactly these locations are. But what I can tell you is that on these maps, if it's in yellow, that means that we have a base there. We either have a base or an embassy or a presence in these locations.
In the black hole?
What's that? Hey, you might be able to find this online, I'm not sure. I mean, I know the person that gave me this and dumped this likes to spread their stuff all over the internet. Former NASA employee, former disgruntled NASA employee with an axe to grind. Oh, fire me, will you? I left a back door in and I'm going to spread your pictures all over the internet. So, yay, disgruntled NASA employee.
In the middle of the Galactic bulge there?
Say again, the what now?
The one right in the middle.
Sagittarius A, the black hole, right there.
Do we have a base there too?
No. I don't think, I'm not exactly sure. That, to me, that is an indicator that we have the rumors that this is actually a transgalactic portal. And this would indicate to me that we have a presence through that hole. That is what that would indicate to me, without necessarily telling more. It would just be like, more through here. Okay. But this is not a specific map. So I mean, someone looking at this might go, but people who know how to read this map and know, what these symbols mean and so forth might way better understand what these are. But this is, telling us, these are distinctively telling, is this a military base? Is this just an embassy? Is this, a different kind of presence? What is it? And those are all defining that. And I don't have the key to that, so I can't tell you. But we have more of these too. That is a Habano. And so, you can, it kind of loses, sort of fades into the picture here, but the edge is coming down around here. This is the anti-aircraft gun mounted underneath. This is sort of the top dome of it, and it's kind of a close-up picture where it's not all in frame. The edges go off to the side, but it was, it's a kind of a close-up shot taken from the ground, probably while it was in motion by the looks of it. Now, this also may look like it's on Mars, but it's not. This is actually in southern Utah, and there's this sort of hangar opening and this kind of roundish experiment, one of these sort of newer saucer-shaped space vehicle that they made coming out for a little test flight. This one's got some sort of, again, when it's sort of a more clear picture, it's got some interesting kind of engineering to it that I'm a little confused by. I'm curious exactly why that configuration, but it's just, going out for a spin. Hey, let's take that thing out for a spin, see how it goes. Next. This would be one of the first alien reproduction vehicles from Project Aurora. So as you can see, it says USAF, US Air Force, it's an experimental aircraft. It's got the disc shape because it's using the sort of magneto-electrogravitics of these disc-shaped craft. But, we weren't really sure what else to do, so we basically took an airplane cockpit, control system and stuck it on top of a disc craft and said, that's our first alien reproduction vehicle. Woo! So our first try were these hybrid vehicles. Again, they sort of looked a lot like a plane and a weird spaceship flying saucer at the same time. And so that's one of the first ones. And this is another one back here right behind it, another one, a little bigger one. And so basically this is them, taking it outside the hangar, getting everyone to gather and take a picture and then stick it back in the hangar where no one can see it. And they probably only flew the stuff at night most of the time, probably. And this is probably, this could be Groom Lake or one of the other facilities where you're, again, miles away from people looking, but you still wouldn't just leave these things out where people could fly over at high altitudes and take pictures, because you know that they are. Anyway, Project Aurora. Okay, next. Okay, so we no longer have a Zeta presence. What we have are drones, clone drones, of Zetas that continue to be teleoperated by other people, including our military personnel. It's a technology that the Zetas used. Not a single Zeta Reticulan physically stepped foot on planet Earth ever. They would die. But they can teleoperate a clone drone that you wouldn't know the difference of. You'd think that was an alien. You wouldn't realize that it's a biological drone being teleoperated from someone on the ship. But they are. That is the technology they used. Once we learned that technology, we adapted it. We took it, we stole it, we used it. And sometimes people still use these Zeta Reticulan clone drones, so you can blame, that guy did it. They become a scapegoat. So for some people, they continue to be the scapegoat. They continue to be, that guy did it. But I can assure you, having participated in the bombing operation on Ganymede, they are no longer here. They are gone goodbye. So, long story short, we do have the ability to set our space. We do have the ability to tell who can come in and who can't. We do have the ability, you need to go, you need to be evicted, you're out of here. We do have that ability. So we have gone from, what are we going to do? To, I said go. And then if you don't go, all right, I got a fleet of guys with death rays and particle beams and, we'll vaporize you.